Started. Everybody please rise. We'll pledge allegiance to the flag. And Susie, would you lead us tonight, please? Yeah. And before everybody sits down, let's please keep the Petropalo family and continue in your thoughts and prayers, and Gary as well. We lost one of our really, really good rising stars in the town of Carmel Police Department, an excellent police officer with a bright future ahead of him. He was tragically lost in a motorcycle accident last Thursday out on Route 301 in Kent, and we've been mourning his loss since the time of the accident. And you know, it's such a great loss to the town of Carmel, the town of Carmel Police Department, and our whole town of Carmel family here. So please keep Gary Petropalo in your thoughts and prayers, and his family as well. Thank you. Okay. Thanks, Sue. Yeah, just real quick, Gary. We just swore him in February of 2016. He started here with the town of Carmel, and you know, since he started, he shined as a police officer. He was very, very active in his capacity as a police officer. Law enforcement was his passion. He could have worked anywhere in the state of New York. That's how bright of a young man he was, and he excelled in every aspect of law enforcement that he got involved in. So, you know, and we were fortunate enough that he chose the town of Carmel to really pick up on his law enforcement career. He started with SUNY New Paltz, and he transferred over here in 2016. And it's really just an unbelievable, horrific loss to the town of Carmel, and we're all sad and heartbroken for the entire community and the Petropalo family. So. The chief does have something on later on. Is it on the agenda tonight, Ann? Oh, yeah.
Number 9.
Number 9. There's something, we're going to be covering something. The Chief Mike Kazari is going to be here for 9 and 10 on the agenda. I'll let him speak about what they're planning on doing when we get to that item on the agenda. So, all right. Oh, and also, yeah, thank you, Susie. Also, please continue your thoughts and prayers for the Ferrari family of Mahopac. Their 2 boys, Jesse and Raymond Jr., continue to be missing out in Idaho. There was a tragic hunting accident where the vehicle that they were riding in left the travel portion of the roadway, and it flipped over into the Selway River in Idaho. And that was on May 21st, I believe the accident occurred. And they're still missing out in Idaho. So the search efforts and everything is still ongoing out there for them. So let's keep that family in the thoughts and prayers as well as we move on. Okay, so the first item on the agenda tonight is a town board work session, but we do have a tabled resolution that we're going to be acting on this evening, and that's the first item. And this is a town board special voting meeting that we're going to start off with tonight. And the resolution that was tabled is a resolution authorizing, subject to permissive referendum, the construction of improvements and reconstruction of the airport park in and for the town of Carmel, Putnam County, New York, at a maximum estimated cost of $2,200,000, and authorizing the issuance of $2,200,000 in bonds of said town to pay for the cost thereof. And the reason it was tabled last week is because there were only 3 board members that were here last week. John was out of town on business, I believe it was, and Jonathan had a commitment that he couldn't be here. So you needed 4 board members to act on. Whenever we borrow money or bond money for capital projects, you need a supermajority or 2/3 of the board, and that would have been 4, and we only had 3. So that's the only reason why it was tabled, is because of the strength of the board for that meeting last week. So we have 5 board members with us tonight. For the record, we're all here, as is Phyllis Borges, our deputy town clerk, and Greg Fulchetti, our town council, all the way down to my left. So the first item on the agenda, again, is the borrowing of the $2.2 million for the construction of the airport park. Councilman Schneider, would you read the number? Well, actually, we have to take it off the table first.
Motion
right?
to take it off table?
Second.
Okay, motion made by Councilman Lupinacci to take it off the table, seconded by Councilwoman McDonough. All those in favor? To take it off the table?
Aye.
Everybody's in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
Oh, okay.
Down here, you guys are in favor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so it's off the table now, and now we can go ahead and read the resolution. Councilman Schneider, would you read one, please?
Whereas the capital project hereinafter described is hereby determined to be a Type 2 action pursuant to the regulations of New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, promulgated pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, the implementation of which, as proposed, such regulations provided will not result in any significant adverse environmental impact. Whereas it is now desired to authorize such capital project and its financing. Now therefore be it resolved by the Town Board of the Town of Carmel, Putnam County, New York as follows. Section 1, construction of improvements to and reconstruction of the airport park in and for the Town of Carmel, Putnam County, New York, including original furnishings, machinery, equipment, appurtenances, apparatus, and incidental improvements and expenses in connection therewith is hereby authorized at a maximum cost not to exceed $2.2 million, subject to permissive referendum. Section 2, it is hereby determined that the plan for the financing thereof is by the issuance of $2.2 million of bonds of said town, hereby authorized to be issued, therefore pursuant to the provisions of the local finance law. Section 3, it's hereby determined that the result of probable usefulness of the aforesaid specific object or purpose is 15 years pursuant to subdivision 19C of paragraph A of section 11.00 of local finance law. It's hereby further determined that the maximum maturity of the bonds herein authorized will exceed 5 years. Section 4, faith and credit of said Town of Carmel, Putnam County, New York, are hereby irrevocably pledged for the payment of the principal and the interest on such bonds as the same respectively become due and payable. An annual appropriation shall be made in each year sufficient to pay the principal and interest on such bonds becoming due and payable in such year. There shall annually be levied on all the taxable real property of said town tax sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on such bonds as the same become due and payable. Section 5, subject to the provisions of local finance law, the power to authorize the issuance of and to sell bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of sale of the bonds herein authorized, including renewals of such notes, is hereby delegated to the supervisor of said town, the chief fiscal officer. You guys couldn't tell me that, like paragraph 1?
After 4, you could have.
Oh, it's after 4? All right, so I wasn't sure. And then after that, I will offer this as pre-filed with the town clerk.
Okay, offered by Councilman Schneider.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McDonough.
I was
Roll
going
call
to-
vote, please.
I was fine just going, it would have been okay.
Councilman Borelli? Councilman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Lupinacci?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough?
Yes.
Supervisor Schmidt?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Thanks for reading more than you had to, John. Appreciate that.
Not a problem.
then
I know
keep
that
on
there's like the
going.
cliff notes in the abridged version. I was just wondering if maybe in the future we could have those as an addendum to said resolution.
I was looking it up, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Okay, all right, need a motion to close the special town board voting meeting.
So moved.
Second.
So moved by Councilwoman McDonough, seconded by Councilman Lupinacci. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I need a motion to open the work session now.
So moved.
So moved by Councilman Schneider,
Yeah.
seconded by Councilwoman McDonough, and Councilman Lupinacci. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, the work session is now open. First item on the work session agenda is the review of the town board minutes of May 16th, 2018. Unless anybody has any comments on the May 16th town board meeting, we're going to move on. There being no comments, item number 1 on the agenda tonight, Mary Ann Maxwell, Town Controller, is to consider request to award electric supply bids for facilities and streetlights for a 36-month period commencing November 1st, 2018 to October 31st, 2021 through joint purchasing bid with Putnam County and other surrounding towns. Mary Ann, take it away.
The town has participated in a joint purchasing agreement with Putnam County and other surrounding towns, the Village of Brewster, Town of Southeast, and the Town of Patterson. For the past, I think it's about 6 years, we've participated in this electric supply bid. Aggressive Energy is the vendor that came in, the lowest rate at dollar amount of 0.06091 kilowatts. Our current rate is with Champion Energy, and that's at 0.07294 kilowatts. So we will be saving money over the next 36 months. We have 173 facilities
Okay.
Saving.
All right, any questions, comments, concerns regarding the electricity bid? I'm glad that we're doing this, you know, it's a joint, you know. Yeah. All right. And this is, you know, with the whole shared services initiative that's going on now, this is one of them. This could be included as one of them.
This, because it's an existing shared service.
Mm-hmm.
Joint purchasing, being required in county new shared service.
Yeah, we're not gonna tell them that, though, Mary Ann. We're gonna tell them this is a new initiative.
Yeah, okay, we'll say that. I did send, give Greg copies of the contract, I can send them to the board. Well, with the two vendors.
Okay, so, Jonathan, when we switch over to the LED lights, the street lights in town, we're gonna save even more money.
Wait until we talk about it in the next year, switching over all the town hall lights to LED. It'll
right
blow
into-
people's minds how much money it'll save.
Yeah, I know. It's
Well, when we
amazing.
get to the item tonight, it's pretty substantial,
Yeah.
first year
Yeah.
return on payment for what we're putting down. It's gonna be very good.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. All right, thanks,
Be a lot-
Mary Ann.
It'll be a
Okay,
lot
thank
brighter
you.
too, Kenny. Gonna be a lot brighter.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, next item on the agenda, number 2, is consider a resolution, New York State DEC, to strengthen gas pipeline regulations. This was brought to our attention by Jerry Revnitsky last month, and this is essentially what it is. It's town resolutions requesting the DEC to strengthen gas pipeline regulations. I wanted to give you a heads up that 3 towns have passed this resolution: Somers, North Salem, and Southeast. This is Jerry speaking. I have included the resolutions from North Salem and Southeast, and I will have Somers certified copy later today. I expect to get more in a few weeks. Yorktown, Cortland, Stony Point, and we'll start asking other municipalities who are not in direct line of the Enbridge pipeline to weigh in. These will go to the DEC and Governor's Office once the paperwork is together. Your help and support is appreciated. Okay. Jerry, did you want to just take a couple of minutes and speak a little bit about this? I could keep reading here, but maybe you can paraphrase everything a little bit and just let the public know what this is about, what we're doing.
This is, the pipeline and or the compressor stations and metering stations and all of the infrastructure already exists. It's not a question of whether we have them or not. They are already here. And there is technology that could make them a lot safer than they are now. And that's what it's about. It's to keep people healthier in the community. And I was just reading some articles within the past couple of days that there is some new studies indicating that pregnant women who live in the area where these toxic emissions occur have a much greater chance of having problems with their offspring, such things as asthma and lower IQs and a variety of other developmental problems. There's many different things that can be caused by these toxic emissions. And we did have, I think, 1 or 2 more towns approve this. And yesterday, the Health Committee of the Putnam Legislature approved of that, and it will be brought up at a voting meeting at a later time. I'm not sure when.
All right, good.
It's basically to keep people safer, and that's one of the main jobs that you people have.
Yeah, good, thank you, Jerry. Thanks for bringing it to our attention
I
also.
really appreciate your
Yeah.
approval of
Yep,
this.
no
Thank you.
problem, thank you. Okay. All right, so Greg, I guess out of all these whereases that are here, you'll be able to put some type of resolution together? Absolutely. All right,
I'll be working from, and I'll send it to the board in their draft resolutions by the end of the week, and you can comment on it.
all right, great, thanks. Okay, next item on the agenda, James Gilchrist, Director of Recreation and Parks, consider donation from Friends of Recovery Memorial Bench at Chamber Park. Jim? Hi.
Yeah, I brought Laura and Robert with us. So
Hi, Laura.
we've been working at the Recreation Committee probably for about 3 different meetings that we met with last year. And we finalized what we think would be a great improvement to the Chamber Park. We're calling it a Serenity Bench. It would be a picnic table in the back of the park. So I'll let Laura go through the reason for the bench and what it's being memorialized for, and also the program that they run there each year in August. And we found a perfect location. It's in the back of the Chamber Park, behind the gazebo and to the left. You have the property to the right, which would be towards Swan Cove. It's the channel on the opposite side. There's a large rock on that side, and there's a tree over there. It's a nice spot for people to meet and have a nice break over there.
Jim, the walk that goes out to the point,
We were right
Yes.
here.
going from the gazebo out to the lake, is it on the right of the walk or the left of the walk?
The left,
Only because we don't know the location yet
yes.
of the bridge connecting the two,
Yep.
and I didn't want it to conflict.
Yep. Yeah, it'll be all the way over on the left.
Left, we don't have to worry.
Yep. Well, why don't you go over?
Sure. So we're proposing to donate, I'm actually here with my brother-in-law on behalf of the Prevention Council of Putnam and Friends of Recovery for Putnam, and we propose to donate a bench. It's, I'm sorry? It's actually a picnic table, sorry. To promote some of the efforts for Friends of Recovery, which is really, their mission is to integrate into the community and really support those who are in recovery, basically. We think that a bench or a picnic table in that area would be a great place to have some quiet time, to be able to have a cup of coffee with their sponsor. And so we'd like to donate it. And we would also like to include, there's a rock right next to the area where we'd like to donate that bench. We'd like to include the Serenity Prayer on the rock. And just in terms of full disclosure, I'm actually going to be donating towards this bench, and I'd like to include a plaque on the bench in memory of my son who passed away. So I think that pretty much sums up what we'd like to do, if that's clear. Any questions?
Okay. Anybody have any questions regarding this item? Is it going to be, is the bench or the picnic table, is that going to be sitting on? Okay. What is it going to be sitting on?
Rob is actually going to build the bench, and he'll tell you how he's going to secure it to the ground.
Well,
so-
it's going to be a resin picnic table, all pre-assembled, all bolted together, and I'm going to pour some sort of, better picture this time. I'm going to pour some sort of footing and somehow secure the legs to it so nobody can take it, flip it in the water, any vandalism or anything like that. So that's basically it. But it's going to be a maintenance-free. Lauren, like I said, Lauren is going to purchase the table. I'm going to install it. The garden, we're going to put it together. We'll maintain it. You know, there's no cost to the town at all or anything like this. And like Lauren said, there's a little plaque that I will install. I'll route it and, you know, flush into it Nicholas's name in memory of. And then again, there's a large rock off to the side that we just want to put a plaque that has the Serenity Prayer on it. And basically, that's it.
The rocks that, thank you, Rob, for bringing that up. The rocks that we're going to put, it'll be like a maintenance-free area, so we'll put a little rock garden there based off of the Kindness Rocks project, so people can go over there and just, you know, put nice rocks with nice sayings on it, and just be a very friendly kind of community-oriented thing to do.
I think it's a beautiful idea, thank you.
Thanks.
I agree.
Yeah, thanks so much, Lauren. Rob, thank you. Appreciate it. It's going to be nice. It's going to be beautiful down there. Thanks for bringing it to the town.
We would like to have like a ribbon cutting on August 31st for our, but I mean, we can talk about that, but just so
Okay.
you know, our plan is to be able to kind of cut the ribbon on International Overdose Awareness
Bring
Day.
attention to it.
On the 31st, yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. That'd be nice.
Okay.
For sure. All right. Yeah, keep us informed. All right, keep in touch. Let us know how things are going.
Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. All right. Thanks for being here. Okay, next item on the agenda, number 4, Councilman Jonathan Schneider, Rich Franzetti, PE, Town Engineer. Consider request to convert lighting district to LED lights.
Do you want Rich to read his memo, or you want me to kind of give an abridged
Um,
version?
Whoever wants to go first is, you want to, Rich?
Yeah.
Why don't you read what you have first?
Okay, so as you preface, good evening, everyone. New York State Gas and Electric and Gas, I apologize, has introduced a program to convert existing Cobra head lights in the town of Carmel to LED light emitting diode lights, street lights. The town is required to pay the unexpected life cost of the existing lights, and NYSEG would still own and maintain the street lights. The board should note the program is being offered only for Service Class 3 lights. Service Class 2 lights, which are those owned by the town of Carmel and are decorative, are not eligible for the program at this time. This particular conversion will convert 1,078 of the town's 1,126 lights at an average cost of $38.94 per light. Total cost would be $41,977.24. The remaining 48 lights are class service and are not eligible, as I previously stated. Provided in your attachment is the 5 lighting districts plus miscellaneous lights within the town, broken out for the number of lights per account. Carmel would have 180 lights being converted. Mahopac would have 806. Country Hill would have 2 of the 20. Croton Falls would have 28 of all of them. Lake McGregor would have none of their 12. And there are unidentified town of Carmel, not a district, but there are 62 of them. So based on NYSEGs, the town would save approximately $12,000 a year on lamp costs and another $17,000 a year on delivery charges. And depending on what we pay per kilowatt, we could have additional savings. In order to move forward, the town has to write a letter requesting to move forward to convert the streetlights, which would get us on NYSEG's docket to move forward. And then as we move forward, they will schedule the conversion replacements, and we would be able to identify the options to choose the wattage and the LED colors for each of the lights. Spoke with the town controller, and there are sufficient funds in the lighting district balances for this project. So, and I'll let Councilman Schneider speak further on this. This is something we've been talking about, I guess, probably for about 2 years.
Yeah.
This initially came in. We had done an energy audit here, and at the time, the folks who did the energy audit offered offered to convert all our streetlights, but the town would own those lights, and we'd have to maintain them. And at the time, NYSEG did not offer an LED tariff. So you would still be paying your same tariff on the existing lighting system. We would own the lights and have to maintain them, which we don't have the infrastructure here to do. And you know, it would not be a win for the town. Now, all of a sudden, NYSEG has come up and is offering to do LED lights with a lower tariff to help cost savings. And they would still own the light poles and lights where we don't have to maintain them. So, sorry,
But-
Councilman Schneider, I cut you off.
Rich, I just have a question. What is the undefined town of Carmel? Like, where are those lights? Do we, Like,
I
if
say
they-
undefined, they're not in a lighting district. I don't know exactly where they are. I'd have to go back into that account. It's just what,
they're really there? Like,
yeah, they're there. It's just
for
not in it.
NYSEG to say, hey, you guys have an extra 62 poles and we're going to charge you $2,400.
No.
Okay.
There is an account associated with that. We just have to find out I probably have it in my records back upstairs where those lights actually are.
Okay, and then I'm assuming some of the lights like, say, in Lake McGregor, I'm assuming they're like a service Class 2 light, so they're not eligible for it.
Correct. They are more of a decorative class through, correct.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
And that summarizes it.
That's it, yeah. Rich, now, Mayapack Ridge is a lighting district. Are they, where would they be on here? In the Mayapack?
They would, there's
The 816?
816 lights in that Mayapack
Okay.
account. That would be
So they're
part of it.
okay, got it. So don't break it down that far. They just say Mayapack, 816 lights in Mayapack.
Right, I have a fairly detailed lighting list at my, upstairs on the file that I had requested from NYSEG a couple of years ago.
Okay. Yeah, I think we should definitely go ahead with this, no question about it. It's much more efficient way to go with LED lights. It's gonna be cheaper in the long run. So we may have to pay the $41,997.24. Do they need Do they need that full amount, Rich, in order to move forward with the program?
I think the devil are in those details. The answer is yes, because we have to buy the existing lights that are there and then have them exchange it with the LED, so.
Can we negotiate that number any lower?
We can always talk about that, but we are talking about NICEAG. So we might be able to beat them over the head after our past winter, but that's a whole nother
All
story.
right, well, let's try beating them over the head a little bit on this number. All right, maybe they could, what, Sue?
I said maybe they can remove some of their double poles.
Yeah, all right, all right. Board, are you okay with this?
I think Jonathan.
Jonathan, do you want to talk a little bit more or no?
I mean, for a few years, the technology's been getting more and more efficient. 3 years ago, I think we first visited this, and it was going to be almost a 20-year return on investment because these tariffs didn't exist from NICEAG. But, Rich, thank you for following up on this again, because with these tariffs now, according to our first resolution, it looks like we're going to have a return on the investment in the first year just by the 2 tariffs that we save, and then the reduced energy cost at the 5 cents per kilowatt hour. And that's a rough calculation. Even on a 5-year return, it's still drastically improved where we are. But if this comes to fruition, that within 1 year, we recovered the $42,000 in cost, that's why I said within a year, I'm hoping that we can get this building done.
Yeah.
So it's putting a little bit of money out there, but I think that the return on the investment is something you can't argue with, just based on the savings each year that we'll see.
Yep, agreed. Okay.
So, Rich, thank you for staying on top of it and getting it coordinated, and after this, taking it to the next step and doing all of our facilities.
That's the intention.
Okay. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next, Rich Franzetti, Town Engineer. Consider request to advertise for bids or consider change order contract C250 Sycamore Park, convert tennis courts to basketball courts. Rich, number 5.
So Jim Gilchrist, the Director of Parks and Recreation, requested that the Engineering Department develop plans and specs for the reference projects. As the board is aware, we already are moving on the lower courts right now, converting the tennis court, or resurfacing the existing tennis courts. At the time, well, I go back, the town has received a grant for this new work, 8930 from DASNY. It's in the amount of $100,000. Based on previous bid, this work was, and the, for this work, and the most recent bids for the tennis court rehab project, we estimate the project to be about $130,000. Most of the engineering work for this is complete, as the work was included in previous bid, which included both the tennis court and the basketball court. So we have the 2 sets of tennis courts down there at Sycamore. We didn't have enough funding to do both. We let this out to bid to do both, convert the tennis court back to tennis court and the tennis court back to basketball court. We didn't have enough funding, and the way the original grant was written, we can only do the tennis court, which is the lower one, which is the one that we just recently voted on. This grant money just came in recently so that we can convert the upper tennis court to a basketball court. It just so happened, it happened within 2 weeks of each other. So, we anticipate the work to convert the upper tennis court to the basketball court to exceed GML threshold, $35,000, and we would have to authorize formal public bidding in conformance with that. However, in the interest of time and potential cost savings, we may consider authorizing a change order under the recently awarded contract for Sycamore Park Tennis Court, which is C230. That's a board decision to make, and that's something that Greg can weigh in on the grand scheme of things. We either going to let this go out to bid, which we have most of those specifications developed and ready to go out, but it would move, delay the project by maybe a month or 2 for us to let it out to bid, or we can issue a change order on the existing contract and use the existing funding right now. I don't, I'll let the board talk about that, and I'll let Greg weigh in on that also.
Quick clarification for the public's knowledge.
Yes, sir.
We're keeping 1 tennis court and converting 1?
Yes.
Two tennis.
Well,
We're going to have 2 tennis courts left and 2 basketball courts, as long as the public understands
yeah,
it.
it's 1 tennis court area, I apologize, with 2 courts.
All right, counsel, I'm gonna defer to you on this as Rich Franzetti had stated. Do you have what's your thought on this, or do you have an opinion on permitting the board to approve the change order, or should we, go out for competitive bidding on this?
I think you're always better advised to get competitive pricing for any number of reasons. Okay, obviously, there could be a benefit to the town by having numerous parties, numerous contractors bid on it. And that's, to me, that's the best idea. You could do a change order. The scope of that job is very similar to the scope of the job that's being done right now in terms of size and price. So I think you're better off letting it out to bid.
Okay. All right.
And most of the specs are done anyway, so there shouldn't be any real appreciable delay in getting it done. You'd have to authorize anything at a voting meeting, whether it be a change order or advertisement for bid. But because of the way the project has gone out over the years, these specs were pretty much developed in any event, so we're not starting from scratch from an engineering standpoint. That's what I think.
All right.
Rich, what would be the timeline if you had to go out for bid?
We could probably, instead of making it a 30 or 45-day opening, we could probably cut that back down. In the past, when we originally let this out, we only had 3 contractors who bid on it. In the last one, we only had 1 contractor who bid on it. So, you know, it dwindled down because this has been let out a handful of times. But that doesn't mean, you know, we won't have more than 1 bidder on this one. So we'll send it to the same list that we sent it to before. We can cut down the time frame to let it out. So.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, although I understand, Rich, the option of moving forward with it with respect to a change order as opposed to bidding it out, you know, I think, you know, following our own town, you know, procurement policy, I think it would be best to go ahead and let's bid this out, you know, and you could, you know, instead of a 30-day return, like you mentioned, you could make it a 15 or a 20-day. And I think you could probably turn it around pretty quickly. So we're not going to delay it that much by that long, you know, given that option of, you know, reducing the amount of days as far as the turnaround time. So, Board, I think we should follow our procurement policy on this and not approve it as a change order.
Yeah, that's
And I'll
what
go
Greg's
with Greg.
suggesting.
Greg's suggesting going that route. So
Understood. I was just offering the board that option.
Yeah,
Since the
no,
work
it's-
is virtually similar and you have the contractor there already and you have line item cost for the same, you know,
Yeah.
type of work.
No, I appreciate you giving that as an option to the board. I'm going to defer to council on this, and the council has indicated that we should probably follow our due diligence with
Go
our
out to bid.
procurement policy and bid it out. Mike?
Go out to
Go
bid.
out to bid? Okay. John? Follow that, too? Okay.
I think the previous bidder's gonna win this bid
I do,
because
too.
they're right
It's
there and
just-
stuff, so.
yeah, it's
so-
gonna come
so
back
just
the same way.
protocol.
It's going to,
Yeah.
right. Okay. All right. So we're going to bid it out, Rich, okay? All right. Okay, next item on the agenda, number 6, Rich Franzetti, consider request to accept proposal for Carmel Water District Number 2 Consulting Engineering Services. Rich?
So the board, if you recall, on March 14th, we were advised, we were allowed to go out for an RFP for the Carmel Water District 2 Water Treatment Facility Plant Upgrade Engineering Report. The reference project was forwarded to 15 consulting firms on April 13th, 2018. A mandatory pre-proposal meeting was conducted on May 11th and was attended by 5 firms. Formal RFPs were received by the engineering office on May 25th from 2 firms, Hayes and Sawyer and Arcadis. Both John Falchetti and I reviewed the RFP and the information that came in and evaluated them, and we identified that Hazen and Sawyer was ranked higher than Arcadis. And however, their costs were a little higher at $167,000 versus $152,000. Hazen proposed a more robust source water evaluation, considering the concern for the status of Lake Lenita. It's believed the evaluation will provide significant value for our future decisions going forward in the town. Due to when this subject was broached, the cost for the study was not included in the Carmel Water District 2 budget, and we spoke with the town controller. The cost can be encumbered by taking $100,000 from a reserve balance fund and the remaining $70,000 from the 2018 budgeted repair reserve line. The board may also want to consider including this cost as part of future capital project for a new water treatment plant. So the engineering department recommends that the contract be awarded to Hazen and Sawyer as they were the most responsive to the town's needs for this project.
Okay. Mike?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions on this. In the information they sent you, did they discuss possible alternative water sources?
No, they did not.
So they're just concentrating on Lake Lenida and what's there now?
Now I have to go back, I have to think about that. They're looking to do for Lake Lenida a safe yield analysis. And from there, we'll know what we can design a water treatment plant for. So no alternative analysis was done, because we've done that already here in the town.
That's what I was going to say, didn't we?
We've already performed
Haven't we
that,
done
so
a
it's
study?
not included as part of this. But they are going to provide a safe yield analysis for Lake Lenida, which is important for us, because nobody knows what the safe yield analysis is for that lake.
Don't we have a study done several years ago? Very similar to this,
No, not for the water treatment plant.
but for Lake Lenida?
For an alternative water
For an
supply that was looked
alternative
at
water
by
source.
John, yes, but it wasn't a safe yield analysis that was performed on Lake Lenida.
I just want the people in Carmel Water District to hear again what Rich read fairly quickly. Due to when this subject was broached, the cost for the study was not included in Carmel Water District 2's budget. We're basically borrowing $100,000 from one kitty and $70,000 from another kitty until it's repaid. Am I right? From the people in Carmel Water District 2.
Right.
All right. That's how the districts
Yeah.
work, yes.
My problem with this is that the same problem I've had for the last couple of years on how we're looking at Carmel Water District 2 and the amount of money that we're throwing, piecemealing things without looking at a big picture. And we continue to do it again. I'm just very uncomfortable with this. And it's $170,000 of Carmel Water District 2's money that'll reflect in their next couple of years' bills, together with the $2 million they just borrowed, together with the fees that we pay our engineers, and we're piecemealing it. As soon as this patch job is done, we're gonna patch another part and go through the whole thing again and spend the same amount of money. And then when they come back with a question on Carmel, on Glenida, I'm gonna ask again, why wasn't an alternative source looked at, which we all are aware there possibly are two? Or have they looked into the fact of splitting up Water District 2 from the hospital end and the residential end?
That's not part of what this study is, just for the water treatment plant.
I know.
To understand the upgrade that would be needed at that
I
plant.
know.
Okay.
But to understand the upgrade that's needed, you have to understand the future of Putnam Hospital,
We have
how
to-
much water they're gonna draw.
You have to understand the future of all the water uses that has been goes through the planning department, which we have a handle on. for
I'm
the most
taking it
part.
apart.
Okay.
Putnam Hospital,
Mm-hmm.
residents, commercial, I'm taking it apart. And I just want to be sure that if we're going to do this, we do it in its entirety, and we stop piecemealing it, because I'm just totally against the way every dollar is being spent in Carmel Water District 2. My own opinion, as a businessman.
No, doesn't an existing resolution years ago come up on handling that we can already separate the two we could separate the districts into two? The hospital side and not. Ann Spofford sent us a resolution, it's got to be 4 months ago, 5 months ago, that I believe that...
8 years old, I think.
I think, but that's already existed, so we could, if we wanted to, split it up via that resolution, if I remember correctly.
But what I'm saying, John, is that old plan should be brought together with this new plan, together with the patch job plan, and the rest of the problems with the district. And look at it in its entirety. Instead of patching everything down the road and letting it fall on the taxpayers of that water district. They're going to get to the point where the cost is prohibitive on the water.
Agreed.
We're gonna be
I think
Cape
we're
Town,
there- I think we're there already.
we're gonna push Cape Town, South Africa. I mean, where they put meters on every usage and penalize you for going over it. It's just, it's a big problem that needs a big solution and a big undertaking. And I just don't think we're doing that. I don't think we've done that from day one, my opinion.
Well, Rich, after all of the information is gathered with the study that we did years ago with the alternate sources, and with this, then you can pull almost a whole package together, correct? That's what our end game is?
Correct. That is the end game. I mean, the end game is to understand what we need here, right?
Yep.
So Lake Lenida has to have a safe yield analysis. Somehow or another, that should be performed. An alternative water supply was looked at, Mike, and you're correct, there are sources that can be used.
I'm not disputing what you
Right.
just said.
Right, no, I know that.
I'm disputing the fact that this is just a piecemeal of the whole piece. That's what's bothering me.
Yeah.
So
Well,
the
no,
alternative water
that's what
supply, as you
has to do
know,
with the
Mike,
funding.
identified Lake Mahopac.
Yeah.
And there are other sources. There are no wells that are gonna give us what we need
And we're paying $200,000
to the city of New York.
to this consultant, $200,000 to the other consultant, and we're getting pieces. In the end of the result, we're gonna pay over $1 million to a consultant, when we should've got one consultant to bring us one, and instead of having 15 people showing up with only 2 bids, we might have had 25 people showing up with 10 bids. And in the end result, it's gonna be cheaper to the taxpayers. I mean, I've been saying that for a year and a half. It's one of the reasons why I'm sitting here. It really bothers me. And we do this consistently with other things that we do in the town. We're not looking at the big picture. And again, I'll emphasize, the money is cheap now, we should be looking at the big picture for the benefit of those taxpayers.
Yeah, I think, I understand what you're saying, Mike, but I do think that when we found out, when it was brought to us, what the people up in Carmel were gonna be paying for the water, remember we did that? And it was astronomical. And that's when we said, we've gotta go out and look for an alternative source of it, okay? At that time, that was the main focus. What can we do to get this water rate in, you know?
Well, we
I would
still-
love
we
to the
still
city
have-
get out of there, you know what I'm saying? But
We
right
still
now,
have the Article 78 on the
not
table
an-
that
that's
we
not
have to
an
discuss
option.
too.
So, you know, I think that we are getting a bunch of information that it is needed. I don't think that there's any information that we got that was wasted. I think that we can get all of this information and then build what are the best options, the best money bang for the buck, if you want to say, and how is it going to be done? Do we make 2 water districts, you know? But we can't make those decisions until we have all of the information in front of us, and unfortunately, it is taking a long time, and unfortunately, it is taking a lot of money, but, you know, I think it's better than just sitting and doing nothing.
But again, this isn't all the information we need. It's a piece of it.
You're right, it is a piece of it.
And the piece always, if you buy something in pieces, it always costs more than the whole.
So, Rich, Hazen and Sawyer, if the board moves forward with awarding this to them, they're going to consider, or they're going to review the study that was done several years ago,
We'll
the
provide them a
analysis
copy of
regarding
it.
the alternative water source.
No, I just asked that.
No.
They're not going to
We
at
can
all?
provide them a copy of it, but that's not what this is.
That's
They're
not what
doing
this
just the
is.
water treatment plant,
This is a water treatment plant only.
which we've known we've needed for 20 years.
Okay.
It's two
No
different
surprise to
things.
anybody. We're spending $167,000 for a piece to get a report on a piece, although it's a very intricate piece, a major piece of the puzzle. We're not getting a report on the rest of the puzzle, and that's my problem.
But wouldn't that piece, they could recommend to break it up into 2? I mean, that's where I'm lost. Like, if they do a study and it's so big and they see all the usage and they're doing a safety flow, wouldn't they give a recommendation, you know, on this upgrade? I mean, like, why is it just like, you're only gonna look at that building and improve that building?
That's what
That-
bothers me.
But that's where
But
I'm not
they're
understanding.
gonna be looking at that information for the sizing of the plant and understanding that as,
So sizing of the plant could be two plants?
Right.
Or a
could
bigger
be,
one?
it could be,
Okay.
yeah.
Right, how are they gonna size the plant, not knowing the future use of Putnam Hospital?
No, agreed on that.
I think what you have to keep in mind is that for several years, the plant there has been recommended to be upgraded.
Correct.
Process and treatment standpoints from a primary issue, okay, in terms
For
of,
how many years? Is several years, you know?
I would say 5,
It's
the
4 to
recommendation
5,
came in
yeah.
2013, from my memory.
So for 5 years.
Yep.
And in that 5 years, we've probably spent over $3 million in Carmel Water too, am I correct?
Not on the plant.
In Carmel for repairs or something or fixing, plus forget about what I read of, we were spending $600,000 in repairs every year. All I'm saying is this. If you're gonna go off an RFP on the treatment plant, that you really should look at an RFP on the entire overview of Carmel Water 2 and the future and the 3 possible sources of water, okay? And the expansion of the hospital, which constantly expands, and now it merged with somebody else, so it's not gonna stay small. And that should be brought to the table to see how much it's gonna cost to fix the entire thing. Because we're just gonna be sitting here next year doing the same thing on a different piece of this puzzle.
Just to piggyback on that, there can be a facilities analysis. The other half of this is the distribution system, which you know that there's 50-some-odd miles of pipe, some large percentage of it is in need of repair or replacement. The understanding I had at the outset of this was the design professionals for the plant are different, okay, different group of professionals. You're free to conduct a RFP for a facility study for the treatment, for the distribution system, and you should. That's the bigger picture, okay? 'Cause it's-
I want someone to do a feasibility study on the hospital drawing out of the reservoir, which it's 90% of it is set up to be done already, if I understand correctly, with pipes. The alternate water source, and while we're doing this study, we ride simultaneously in the courts with New York City's obscene claim of they own the lake.
You could alter the scope of any facility study here that you're going to award here on the plant to include the analysis, not only of the lake's capacity to service the district as it currently is, as it's going to expand, but for whatever other bifurcation of district users, alternative sources. You can do that, and that's probably a reasonably good idea, okay? At least it gives you the capacity and treatment answers. The distribution system is a whole other ballgame, but you can look at that separately. There's just usually different professionals who are gonna do that analysis. That's all.
I thought that
And
was
this-
part of this, though. Not the distribution, but what Mike's saying on the options that, because again, if they don't know how big the hospitals are gonna get or other usage, how can they design a plan? So to me, the byproduct is going to give what Mike wants, but that's where I'm confused.
They are gonna be looking at future use of the, and they're gonna be doing those estimates on that.
So we
That's
may get
part of what this study is. They're not just gonna
We may
come
get
in-
the answer that Councilman Borelli's looking for.
We may.
We may, agreed. I'm not gonna say we are, but I thought we would. But
Well,
Gotta have an
they
estimate
have
for
to
future
look, they
uses.
have to look
Has
at,
to.
they have to look at existing use. They're gonna do future growth.
It has
They
to.
have to. They will, right? They'll understand that. And whatever numbers they'll use that are maybe industry standards, if they don't have something that they expect from, but we know what planning projects are out there, we can provide them those numbers, right? We know that the hospital's there and it can continue to grow. They will have those numbers. Then they can say, okay, you need a plant that's gonna be this big, that's gonna cover you 25 years from down the road. Part of that analysis goes back to the safe yield analysis of Lake Clenida. Can it handle that flow now or 25 years in the future? That's when, they're not looking at an alternative source, but that's when they'll go, you can't do it. And from them, we have to make that decision, but we already have an alternative water supply assessment that was performed for this.
And/or if they know that the hospital already has distribution center and a possibility that resolution to go to the reservoir,
And that's, yeah.
they're gonna have that information, so I have to think that their answer, their output is gonna include all of this. If
Rich,
it's
can-
not, then we do need to
Yeah,
do
I don't know
what
what the
Councilman,
hospital-
I mean, what Greg
I don't know
said.
what the hospital has or
I just
doesn't
wanna see it
have in
spelled
their
out.
system.
I agree with you, I'm saying that's
Can-
what we
can
should
we
do what
do
Greg is saying
something
and
like-
spell that out.
Yeah,
I wanna
can we
Make
spell
do-
sure
it out.
that that's there.
Yeah, can we spell it out like Councilman Borelli is saying? You know, do specifics of what we are expecting them to come back with. So we have that, so when they come back, we don't sit here and say, no, we wanted you to make sure you included this or didn't include this, or.
Certainly.
You know what I'm saying? Do it specific to what we are asking for.
Who prepared the specs for the RFP?
They were based on 10 state standards. It was John and I developed them, John Falchetti and I developed them.
You should have added a lot more in. We're tired of wasting taxpayers' money. We need more answers for $167,000 instead of a piecemeal. And I think we should add in what we need and do it again. Spelled out exactly what we want, and I'll tell you exactly what I want. Future projection on Putnam Hospital, the cost of splitting up the filtration plants, Putnam Hospital having its own filtration plant, and paying for it themselves, or drawing it out of the reservoir together with that filtration plant. Glenida, Mayapack, distribution. Distribution, you really can't tie into that, but there's a lot more questions that have to be answered. And I'm not piecemealing it anymore. I'm not doing it. I myself.
I just want to remind the board, too, that the meter program is out there right now, and there is a possibility, once the new meters are in, that there can be different rates, or not different rates, but different tiers for users. So if there were the districts that you're talking about pulling, right? So going back to the whole safe yield, if Glenida can handle it or can't handle it, let's say it can, you can have tiered users where residents, regular homeowners, can have a base rate.
Should be in there.
No, that's not what this study is.
I know,
But
the study should be
meters are there.
made broader to incorporate all of these things. That's what I'm saying.
You'd amend your water section of your code. Correct. To establish the tiered user system.
We talked about
Right, you can amend that code now, theoretically.
Absolutely.
So,
We should,
well, it's something the board could consider. We haven't looked at any numbers on how that may or may not,
New
should be
meters would give us
tiered,
the
but
ability to do that.
yes.
And they're
but
gonna-
bigger
the new
users
meters
would
gonna give
So
us
we're-
the
pay their
insight.
share.
We have
Rich,
to
can you-
first see the new meters and get
What's
that
that?
insight.
We have to develop, or somebody develop software.
Well, it's already built.
Is it already built in? Yeah.
Well, that's an obvious problem. I mean, a commercial business, a resident, single-family home, and a major hospital should not be paying the same rate.
I don't think they are, though.
They are?
No, the bill. They pay different capital rates for capital. Okay.
Currently,
So
yeah.
so why is Water District
So,
One,
Rich, can you send
I
us
get
an-
business owners coming in saying that my business rate is so much higher
We're gonna have to,
than my residential rate.
I'm unsure.
definitely gonna have to rebid it. If you change the spec.
It might be
No,
a capital
it's just-
improvement, that
We
was
don't
what
have
I'm
to.
saying.
Maybe,
You could just
but he's
include it
saying
in
pure,
the,
well, they, I should say, they're saying pure usage.
Okay.
The capital's capitals, yes, agreed.
All right.
Allocated based on certain factors to treat.
So can we include, Rich, just verify this for me.
Volume, 1 meter
Can we
per second.
include what was discussed tonight? Councilman Borelli's comments and others'
Yeah,
comments?
cubic-
Can we include that with the specs for the services, the professional services from Hazen and Sawyer? Can they include that in their analysis, their research?
I'll go through it. I'll make sure the board is okay with what I'm going to ask them to do. So, Mike, if I can talk with you tomorrow, if that's okay?
If you could talk to me tomorrow?
Yes.
No, it's not okay.
Oh, wait, you have the wedding.
I have a wedding, yeah.
I apologize. So, no, yeah, I apologize. I forgot. I
Next week.
remembered now that you said that. So, but I'll just run it by the board to make sure that what I've taken down here as notes, or what
mean,
you're expecting, and then,
I pretty much spelled it out.
Yeah,
I know,
send-
I wrote it down. I wrote it down quickly. I just want to make
Yeah,
sure
Rich,
that I
send
hit it.
us- Yeah, send us an email, and then, you know, if all the board can respond back
Tuesday.
to Rich with either additional comments or if it's a go, meaning
Well,
that it's acceptable of what we want.
Well, I think with what we're asking for is substantive changes to what was originally spec'd. So this company has to agree to include that in their analysis.
Right, but he wants all of
They're
our
not gonna.
comments before he does that.
Who wants our comments?
Rich, he wants to
I
make
think he just got them all tonight, no? If not, then,
I don't know.
do you have enough?
I think he just wants us to verify it once again, that's all.
Okay, okay.
Right.
I just want to verify what we just discussed tonight. I'll pull it together, and then I will bring that to the consultant and see
Got
what
it.
they have to say.
All right.
Okay?
Okay.
That's all I want. I'm not asking for anything additional. I wrote down a bunch of notes.
Yep.
Just want to make sure it summarizes what you are doing and is getting the essence of what you want.
Okay,
Thank you.
Perfect.
okay, good. Thanks. Okay, next item on the agenda, number 7, is also town engineer, consider request to authorize purchase of filter bags for Carmel Water District Number 2.
So we couldn't have this placed in the worst position after the conversation we just had. So, Infomark, the operators of Carmel Water District 2, advised the engineering department that the filter screens at the water treatment plant are outside of their serviceable lifespan and are beginning to crack and separate. There are 3 filters at Carmel Water District 2, filters 1 and filters 1 and 2 each have 19 filter screens, and filter 3 has 15 filters for a total of 53 filter screens. Filtration at Water District 2 is completed by the means of diatomaceous earth. One of the components of this system are these filter bags which cover the suction manifold and allow the diatomaceous earth to build up, thus creating a filter layer. The tearing and separating of the bags results in the loss of DE and diminishes the filtering capability, which results in a reduction of finished water quality. The bags are in need to be replaced. Due to the uniqueness and age of our plant, Infomark was able to identify only one manufacturer, Treatment Specialties, who can provide
Get 'em?
these. Excuse me, sir?
Can still get them?
Yes, yep. And requested and received cost for 40 48 by 60 filter bags at a cost of $195 per filter bag, 16 at a cost of $195. So the total of the whole thing would be $20,440, which would include the installation and shipping of the 53 bags that are needed. The current filter screens are approximately 2 years old and have a life expectancy of 2 to 4 years. We spoke with the town controller, and there are sufficient funds in the Water District 2 budget for this work, and therefore we request that this be authorized.
So Rich, the company has to install them, Infomark can't?
I believe Infomark is doing the installation.
So it's basically another $20,000, just basically a repair, keep it going. To keep it simple for the users.
It's exactly what it is, $20,000 to keep the plant so that we can provide finished water to the residents.
Have to do it.
Okay, any further questions, comments for the town engineer? I agree, we have to. We did this a couple of years ago, right, Rich, same thing?
About
do
a little over 2
Bags,
years ago.
Choice.
And that was the same amount, right?
Yeah, you don't have to do it. You have to do it.
Yeah. All right. Okay. That's it?
No, I have one more.
All right, one more? All right.
You're not getting rid of me just yet.
Oh, boy. Consider request to authorize purchase and repair Crest Tank Booster Pump, Carmel Water District, number 8.
So this memorandum is presented to the board to request payment of the repair invoices. They are over the town of Carmel's procurement policy threshold. In Carmel Water District 8, the Crest Tank Booster Pump on May 15th, B&J, the operators of Carmel Water District 8, notified the engineering department that the 2 Crest Booster Pump Station pumps were damaged during the severe thunderstorms and tornadoes. The invoice is in the amount of $9,634 for B&J to replace the pumps and perform the necessary repairs. There is an insurance claim being made on this because of the thunderstorms and the tornadoes that were in the area. We've advised the controller of the office, and there are sufficient funds for this work. The work's already been performed, so there are sufficient funds to pay for this work that's already been performed.
I was very familiar with this repair because I was talking to Joe when they did it. Out of this bill, $8,000 is for material.
Yeah.
So the public should know that too. This was a big cost factor for these pumps. B&J's bill is minimal on this one.
Yeah, okay. All right. Any questions, comments for the engineer on the booster tank pump replacement? And there is a claim that's being processed
Yes,
through
sir.
through NYMER for this?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let us know, Rich, what the status of that is, if, you know, once we find out, once they notify us that they're going to cover the claim, just let us, shoot an email and let us know. I see no reason why they won't cover it, but just let us know.
One never knows sometimes.
Keep us posted, okay. All right. Now are you finished, Rich?
I'm done. You can kick me out.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Rich.
Thanks, Rich.
Take
Yep.
care, everyone.
All right. Number 9 and 10. 9, Chief Michael Kazari, consider request for payment of compensatory time.
You got your flak jacket on?
The Chief, take it away.
Evening. So I believe it would be quite a fitting tribute and an honor that every time we drove into the parking lot, or anybody drove in from Croton Falls Road and coming down from Wright Avenue, to have a sign out there.
Oh,
Oh, wrong
oh,
one.
you're doing the wrong one.
Keep
Yeah, but
going.
that's
Keep
fine.
going.
Go ahead.
We'll go back.
No,
Quick.
keep
So-
doing that one, Mike.
Go back to 9.
No,
Sorry.
keep going with
So-
10, please.
Stay where you are.
Stay on 10.
It's a great,
so-
it's a great idea, please.
Yeah.
So with the board's permission, it's not a road. I asked both Mikes, Building Department, Carnazza, and Highway. It's not a town road, it's just a driveway. But if we could dedicate that, just to have it say PO, like Supervisor Schmidt suggested, PO Gary Petropalo. I spoke to the sign company about, they can put his badge
Oh, okay.
on it. And Ann Pascarella is also looking at getting us a sign.
Okay.
Great idea.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Chief, for suggesting that.
Yeah,
I
and
know-
then, you know, his parents are,
Yeah.
I think it's all.
they want him never to be forgotten, and this is
Awesome.
one thing that
No,
we can do, besides scholarships and everything else that, you know, can be down the line
It'll be
for
there
the PBA
forever.
and whatnot. Yeah, so it would be nice.
Well, it'll be nice to have a ceremony at the sign. you
Whatever
know,
you, whatever
an
you
unveiling of
would
it,
like, sir, whatever you would
okay?
like.
And have the family here, too. I think that would be nice, to have them part of it, so. We could talk about dates, Mike, to do that.
Yes, but I would
don't-
like to get this through, and I'll get a price on the sign, and I'll find the money in my
Everybody's
budget,
good
and
with it,
we'll,
right, John?
Yes.
Yeah, we're all good with it, Mike. Thank you.
thank you very much.
It's a small thing that we can do as a tribute and remembrance to Officer Petropalo.
Yeah, and every day we'll see it, which
Right.
is like so nice,
Yep.
yeah. Okay, so back to 9.
Yes.
So, I come to number 9, seeking payout of half of my accrued compensation time. That would be time owed.
40 days.
Half of the current year approved, correct?
I'm sorry,
The current year approved compensation?
the current year accrued.
No,
Did you say half of your,
Half the time that I have almost 80 days. So I was looking for a payout of half of that.
got it. I missed the
Yeah.
80, sorry, chief.
I didn't say 80,
what
I
I
just said
thought
half the time.
Mary Ann?
Done it though, 40 to 80.
So, could you come up and just speak on this for a minute? How would we do this? In other words, would it come out of the compensated absences line?
It would. We accrue for this every year. I get a balance from Rose on all accrued time, and it's in the compensated absence fund balance. So this money would, you know, if we were to pay this out, if the board authorizes this, then it would come out of that fund balance. So, he is, according to the handbook, he is allowed 24 hours a year, but he has, you know, less than that, so he can get paid out on the full amount that he has. You know, the board can authorize that.
Well, the amount he's requesting, the 40?
Yeah, I
40 days.
mean, usually it's at retirement, but
Yeah.
if the board authorizes it,
Okay.
And we have done this in the past for this chief and the former chief, and I believe...
well, I think what we've done in the past is sick time. his payout on his sick time. I don't know, have we paid out on comp time for you? I don't. Okay, I think that was Lieutenant Karsten, Chief Johnson in the past, but, so if the board authorizes this, it is in the fund balance.
Okay. And I guess the benefit that the town gets from this, if I may, is that he's cashing these in, or they're being paid out at today's rate, his rate of pay of
compared
today.
to the
His
rate.
current rate of pay, as opposed to future rate of pay.
Would get paid out on
When he
this when he retired at a rate of pay when he is to retire.
Okay, all right. So the benefit is that it's today's money and not the future money at his rate of pay, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Okay. Board, Jonathan, you want to weigh in on this? You good with this? Excuse me? Good? Good? Susie?
Yeah, I'll ask some stuff in
Okay.
executive session, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm similar. I mean, to me, I understand the resolution is needed. To me, it's more of a personnel issue.
Yeah,
I want to understand the sick time versus the comp type and go from there. So I'm not 100% against it, but I'll
Okay.
refer my
And that's the
comments
same as
to
yours, right?
executive
Yeah.
session
Got it, okay.
on the personnel
Executive session.
matters.
Okay,
I agree with John. Same answer John just
all
gave.
right. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, chief.
Thanks, Mike.
I'll see you in half an hour.
Thanks, chief.
All right. Yeah, don't go anywhere. All right. Okay, so that concludes the agenda items for the town, this evening's town board work session. Is there any members of the public that would like to come up and speak on agenda items only that we covered at this time? Come on up. Raise your hand. Peter? Come on up.
Evening, folks. I'm sure you've heard this before from me, as far as being from the Hamlet of Carmel. I'm going to address Water District Number 2 issues. Basically, we've been discussing this thing for 20 years, and now we're going to study again the safe yield of Lake Lenida. I can tell you one thing. I'm a layman in this regard. I'm not an engineer, a water source engineer, but the safe yield of this lake has long been exceeded. If it hadn't been exceeded, then we wouldn't have to remove the stop shutters and keep West Branch water into Lake Lenida in order to serve the customers that we have today. There's really not much more we can talk about except the big picture, and that's what Mike talked about. And I believe when I was here at a meeting in December, we had a public meeting about fixing the infrastructure pipeline. And I can't argue about the infrastructure pipeline. That definitely has to be maintained and improved. That's a separate issue from the quantity of water and the distribution of the water through the filtration plants. But we were here, and there were people that were negatively affected by the bad water quality, and they got up and spoke. I think I have that on record, that they said they would be willing to put off a piecemeal operation for the whole master plan. So here we are 6 months later, and we're still talking about piecemeal issues. I don't know how much longer we can operate this way. The incremental costs that we're going to incur to do repairs over the period of time to get where we need to be is going to be much larger than looking at the big picture, getting an alternate filtration plant, getting an alternate water source, and getting new towers, and bringing up the water district to 2020 and beyond standards. We're talking about getting a distillery in the town of Carmel. They're going to need water. I don't know anything about their proposals, but I've heard that they said, well, they understand that Glenida has capacity problems, so they would drill wells. Well, if they drill wells, they're just going to take water from the source of water to Lake Glenida. And plus, they're going to spend money to do that, so I'd much rather see them add that money into the Hamlet of Water District Number 2 infrastructure improvement. Also, the hospital is going to expand their facility by 10,000 square feet this time. They've had several other expansions, and basically they're not contributing to what they're using compared to what the average resident is using. And we love to have these businesses in our community, but these businesses are not businesses that are not for profit. They're for profit. So therefore, we have to think clearly about how we approach these businesses and negotiate with them to help us fund the improvement and upgrade of Water District Number 2. I've got a lot of figures, and I told Jonathan I was going to do my homework, and I'm back now, and I'm going to do my homework. I have figures from Jack Carell for years on what we drew out of Lake Oneida, and I can tell you it's definitely not going down. And I really hope that as our water commissioners, you folks take the opportunity to look at the big picture, and let's get this solved once and for all. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks.
Jerry?
Jerry Revnitsky from MAPAC. I think it's a great idea that that you're converting a lot of the lights to LED. It's going to save a lot of money. It's going to help the environment. And I'm wondering whether you might have some ideas of how you can get people in the community to convert all of their bulbs to LED. Can you imagine how much it will save people in the community, how much less electricity would be used? I had converted the bulbs in my home to LED, and I noticed a significant decrease in the cost of electricity. Those bulbs will last, they say 10 years, and I believe that it is about that amount of time. So you don't have to change the bulbs. The cost of LED bulbs are going down. They have them on sale all the time. What we need to do is to find a way to convince people in this town to convert to LED bulbs. I think that would be doing a service to the community as well as the environment. Because certainly, if we can reduce the amount of fossil fuels being used, that will help the air quality and water quality, et cetera. So maybe you can kind of have some discussions with people in the community, and I'm sure there will be a lot of people who have good ideas as to what you can do to encourage people to change. Thank you.
Well, you just did it also, Jerry, on TV.
I want to say thank you, Jerry.
The reporter's there, and I will second that, because I converted my house. The only two bulbs in my house that are not LED is the refrigerator and the stove. And I, too, saw a savings immediately in year 1, year 2, by converting all my bulbs to LED. So,
I think it's education, John. Yeah. People have to be educated and understand what the benefits are, and what the savings are. So that might be, and you just did it tonight, but on the larger picture, the bigger scale, you know, that's something that maybe we can do, or maybe Bob, you know, you might be able to, there's 2 papers here tonight, you know, maybe they can do a story on that.
Be the year of the light.
You right, Bob and Dave? The year of the light, yeah, the year of the light bulb, yeah. Light bulb goes off, it should be an LED bulb, right? No, I think it's a good idea. Was there anybody else that would like to come up on agenda items only at this time? Because this might be a good time for me to do what I wanted to do tonight. I brought with me one of the new, as everybody's aware, all of our water districts in town, we have 13 water districts?
yes.
13 water districts. We're converting all those water districts, all of the old meters that are in your homes now throughout the town. I think there's 4,000 meters. We're converting, this is the new meter right here. This is the meter that's being installed in your home starting the middle of next month. So the middle of July, you're going to be getting a call from the installer, which is National Water Meter. They're going to contact you and schedule an appointment, a date and time, where the crews can come out to your house and convert your home over to the new meter. So this is the meter here. The numbers are right on top. that would be your meter reading with the amount of water usage that you're using in your home. But this is the transmitter here, Rich. This is cellular-based, correct, Rich? This is a cellular-based transmitter. This is gonna, so this will go replace your current meter in your home with this meter. This is gonna be mounted outside your home, probably somewhere down near your foundation. This is gonna transmit your meter reading to a program that's in the controller's office that they're the keepers of the water billing for the town of Carmel. So they're gonna get your water meter reading without you having to read your meter and send it in on a card that we send you. Is it semi-annually, Mary Ann? Yeah. Okay, so. And it's a cloud-based system. So when the meter installers come to your house, this is the meter that they're gonna be installing for all residential homes. Commercial meters are a little bit different. They're bigger than this one. But I just wanted to show you all tonight what's being installed in your home so you don't have a lot of fear about what they're doing. So they're changing out your old meter, installing this new one. This transmitter is going to be installed somewhere on the outside of your home. This cable here it's attached to the meter here. So really the hole that they're going to be drilling to get this cable into the meter, which is inside your home, is the diameter of this cable right here. It's not that big.
The end.
So it's going to be a small hole that they're going to have to feed it through to get to the meter. And that's pretty much it, right, Rich? So this is.
Any questions, you can talk to Kenny. He knows as much as I do.
So Kenny knows all about these meters.
He'll give you a demonstration in his office on any given day.
Absolutely. This is in my office, so if you want to come in and actually see it for yourself, this is the whole meter change out right here. This is what's being done. So.
Yeah.
Well, this is.
Gonna be,
It's going to be right there.
Yeah, it'll be the size of this, you're right. So this plug here has to go through to get to the transmitter, because this is attached to the meter, you're right. You want to speak to that, Rich?
I got the first part of yours, what security, and then what was the back end of your question? I apologize. Correct, so there's going to be a letter sent out to homeowners. You make the appointment with the people, you set the time. They will have IDs, they will have uniforms, right? And that's how it'll work. And they're also gonna go through a background check.
So the homeowner controls it.
Yes.
And the homeowner's getting notice through the town and the company's sending out
Through,
notification.
it's gonna be through the National Metering Service. They're the ones they're gonna send out the notification. The town's gonna review the notice that they're gonna send out. So
And I
yes.
believe they're working with the local plumber.
They'll have a local plumber with them, yes. Or overseeing it at least. They may not be on every job, but they'll be overseeing the work.
and we can certainly put it on our website explaining the process.
There'll be some frequently asked questions that we're in the process of developing to get onto the webpage. We haven't put them on just yet, but yes, we're gonna get that there also. And obviously, this is the first of many of these type of more PSAs, if you want to call it, this is the first one. We've already sent the letter out as part of the bill when we sent out the bill earlier this year saying, hey, this is coming. A lot of people have called and said, did I miss it? They haven't. They will have an opportunity when this next letter comes out to set an appointment. If they don't hear back, there'll be a second and a third letter. The board needs to be aware at one point in time, there may be those people who are going to be holdouts or don't want to have anybody coming in. The board may want to consider again enacting some kind of code change or some kind of law that says, hey, if you don't do it, we're going to put a lien on your property or whatever it is. It's something that we need to discuss more, and that's something we need to discuss with Greg. But I think a lot of the people who have been calling in have been very positive and are looking forward to having the new meters. They're more than happy not to have to read them anymore. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
One of the frequently asked questions we should be aware of or anticipate is that, because some people said to me, they said, I have a water meter, town, I don't pay my bill, I don't read their meter. They get an estimate, and when you don't pay it, it gets shipped up to the county, and it's on your county taxes. So people always say, I don't pay it. Yes, you do. You pay it via your county taxes. you offer the re-levy to go up to the county. So the county makes the town whole for your water meter, and you're paying via your county taxes, you're paying the charges. So by this now, instead of semi-annually or annually, it could be quarterly, and it's gonna be more controlled, and, so that's just a question that we might, anticipate, because people have said it to me, I just don't pay it. I said, yes, you do.
You do.
They just don't realize it. With penalties, yeah. Yeah. I think it's a 10% penalty, so.
Did you want to ask something? It's battery powered. It has a 15 to 20-year lifespan, so, unfortunately, they may all go out at once in about 20 years, but I don't believe that'll be the case, so,
I won't be.
so we're all gonna install them in year 1, and in year 20, we're gonna have to install new batteries. So, but they'll go in it'll be done by our operators will be, taught how to do that, and they'll be able to exchange the info. Yes, so the beauty of this whole system, as I mentioned before, it's all cloud-based. So there's a lot, at least we haven't seen it in operation, but what we've heard about it, the cloud-based system allows us now to bill quarterly. We can see what people are using. We will be able to know if somebody's house is getting to a freezing point, and we can set an alarm there to have our operators go out and turn the water off, knowing that somebody is not there, or reach out to those people. We'll know if there are leaks. At a residence, we'll know if a toilet is running. I know it sounds very Big Brother-esque, but it's just a matter of looking at volumes and numbers, so yeah,
The question for the public was, that's in the signal at low battery. When we went to the meeting 4 years ago, we've been wanting to do this.
The answer is yes, right?
It gives a lot of information, as Rich said, and, it will tell you if you have a leak, because just continual usage, you could set alarms on that. You could actually find out if, I've said it before, you can find out if your neighbor is going up to your hose spigot and filling the pool. Because if you're not home and you just keep having tremendous volume, you either have a leak or someone's tapped into your water. So.
I think another very big benefit from this, Rich, correct me if I'm wrong, since every end user will be metered now, we'll be able to detect leaks easier through the distribution system. Not just for the end user leak detection, but the entire distribution system, which is where part of the study that was discussed earlier for Water District 2, part of the study was going to be to analyze where that loss is. Because I guess, as from what I'm understanding, almost every system at some place is going to have loss. It's going to have leaks, but this will absolutely help us to mitigate what those amounts will be.
Correct, and so you have one more question, though. Okay, you can have as many as you want. It's not gonna, it has its own battery, so it will
Just state
continue
the
to work.
question for the public, because they may not
Oh, I'm
hear
sorry.
the question.
I apologize. The question was, will it work through storm outages and power outages? And the answer is yes, it will. It's running on its own battery. I guess the question is, another way to answer that is, we typically, you're fortunate, at least in the Carmel Water Districts, we have generators, so we're always supplying water, so you'll have water there. So that's a good thing. So it will be running and it will be sending the signal. So, Peter?
Will we be able to recover the cost of the investment of these new meters through increased revenue where old meters are not reading or not failing? I believe I heard from a lot of people that some of the existing meters are not working at all and are slow or not working at all.
All right, so you're correct, Peter. So the question from Peter Gephardt was, will we be able to, and correct me if I'm wrong, gain additional revenue from this for those lost, the lost revenue for people who don't have who have slow read meters, who don't have working meters? And the answer is that, did I hit the question correctly? So the answer to that question is yes. And I think from our understanding, and this is when the council folks went up there, and this is from all the folks that we've dealt with over time, and all the different meter manufacturers, what you're gonna see is a decrease in use. And so that's a good thing, right? So now you're not using your facilities as much. People will conserve more because now they have a realization that it's there. So that you're gonna have that. So you're gonna have an increase in revenue at first, but then that revenue is gonna decrease because there's gonna be a decrease in use. So the answer to your question is yes, but only time will tell on how that goes forward.
The decrease in use will be offset by what we pay DEP for the water, so therefore, it's a trade-off.
Right, so that what the comment was is the decrease in use will offset what's being billed by the DEP, and the answer is correct. You are correct. So, the other thing is that these particular meters, part of the beauty of them is a lot of people will take their meter and turn things around and try to, it's all, once that happens, an alarm will come off on the system and we'll know if somebody tampers with it, we'll know if somebody disconnects any of the power to it, and we'll be able to go in and, you know, we can do what we have to do accordingly. Yes, Peter, no problem, you can have 100.
When these are installed, I've seen a lot of installations where, I'm not an expert in plumbing, but I've seen a lot of mechanical connections. The nut that tightens on to the sleeve to install this, a lot of places have little holes drilled through, so you can put a seal there and flip it on just like the electric company does, so nobody, so it makes it tamper-proof. Has that been considered?
That is not something that's, so the question was, is it gonna be a tamper-proof where there's holes within the meter so it can't be taken off? The answer is no, the meter itself has the alarm system set within it, so there's a way to have that mechanical type of seal, which is what you're talking about, that mechanical lock. That was not part of this, because the meter itself has the alarm system where we'll know if somebody tampers with it. Go ahead. Yes.
So, does that give you an opportunity to be able to communicate to those customers?
So the question was, the information's being collected, and it's going to the cloud and then going back to a location here in town. Does that information get back to the residents? Is that?
Is there a way to use that to be able, because you constantly have, not issues, but you want to be able to communicate to Water District 2 or Water District 8 about a particular thing. So I'm saying, is the technology there so that if you wanted to select a water district that you had to make some sort of a communication to about a repair?
Or a leak or something. So the answer is there a back way, a back call, if you want to call it, to the districts? I don't know that answer, and that's something I can look into. I don't believe it has that capability.
Not to that device, but you could then use
Right.
our database.
We can
to
use our
contact-
database.
Well, so
Yes.
It's a collection of a database, so you know which house it is.
Correct.
Could you somehow use that to better communicate to the water?
we can count. Yeah, so we'd be able to do it. I'd have to double check if the computer, or meaning the program itself, the software can do that, or if it's something where it's we have to witness it, or we get the little alarm that goes off on our computer, and we go and look and say, hey, what's that alarm? Is it 123 Main Street? Oh my, let's go look at it. I'd have to double check what the capabilities are. But every homeowner and every user will be able to access their account. It is a cloud-based account. You'll be able to go look at your specific account and look at the information, the same information that we're looking at a little more. Mary Ann, there'll be certain rights, like I won't be able to look at account or personal information where that goes, where the controller might have that information, but I'll be looking at the volumes and the numbers. Homeowners will be able to look at that same information and understand, you know, because when Mary Ann calls them or the controller calls them and goes, your bill is XYZ, and they go, wait a minute, I didn't use that much water, we can go back and look at the graphs and go, yeah, you had something happening, you must have had a party, or this, that, and the other thing, your neighbor was stealing water, right, John? That's what you said before. You never know, and this is when it happened, so.
Good. All right. Jean, I think you were next. Yes, come up.
Thank you. Hi, Jean Hopper, Mayapack. How's everybody? Okay. I don't know if I missed that meeting because I've been trying to listen. The airport park, 2.2 million. That's including what kind of construction or repairs are we talking about for the 2.2? What's there now? Are there soccer fields, baseball fields?
Are you talking about the airport
You're talking about
property?
Airport park. What did I say? I'm sorry. Airport park.
The airport park, there will be 6 soccer fields. Right now, it's just an open field. It used to be the
lacrosse.
runway. It is an open field facilities, so it's soccer, lacrosse, could be field hockey, could be flag football for various ages. But, you know, the design is going to be 6 multi-use open fields. The biggest, I think, is going to be, you know, the official, I forget the official, maybe
official.
World Cup or U.S. Soccer field, because then you could parse it down and
Right.
use it for lacrosse or something else. But it's going to go from an open field to 3 platforms, and the 3 platforms are going to have 2 fields on each platform. There'll be a parking facility. There's going to be a lot of drainage. The DEP is requiring us to do retention ponds. And there will also be a building, a playground, and that building will have restrooms.
And some landscaping.
And landscaping will be some
I knew we
landscaping.
spoke about this before, so now you're bringing it back to me. Okay, thank you. I just, you
And
know,
some road improvement, yes,
2.2
thank
million, I just kind of had to joggle my memory, okay? Talking about the water projects, now, where did it go? There you are. Good for you. When are those notices going out to the homeowners? Do we know?
For the meters? So there's a 5-week delivery time, because we ordered a bunch of meters, so there's a 5-week delay. So they'll be probably going out in the next 3 weeks, maybe 4.
Okay.
So once we get National Metering Service up to speed with all that, they'll be doing it. So it's a,
Because I think it's worthwhile, that handsome man in the navy blue polo shirt mentioned that people need to be notified. So Mayapack News, if they could perhaps, I know you mentioned the website, you know, people aren't going to search it out. It's got to be right in front of them.
I wrote down Mapac News and
Yeah.
Eric Rose with
To
the
give
Putnam
people,
Courier.
not just a blur, but a whole story. This is important to them, and that
Yep.
people are going to be visiting their homes, and you're looking for ID and a badge, and
Yep.
this is what's going to happen, and all that stuff. So that would be great. Let's see, the tennis courts, I have another question about that. I haven't been to Sycamore in years since my kids have grown. We had those 2 tennis courts on the bottom. Was it only 2?
there's 4 tennis courts there right now in very much of a state of disrepair.
But is it 2 and 2, or is it
2,
4
yes.
down here?
No, it's 2.
Up above there, there's the 2 tennis courts down below by the parking lot.
Right.
Then there was the basketball court.
Right, with
up
those
on
walls
top
things.
of the small basketball court.
Right.
What we're talking about is the 2 courts, which is really 4 courts, but I'm just gonna say the 2 large courts down towards the bottom. So the one closest to the parking lot is gonna be the basketball court, then the next one over is gonna be the tennis courts.
So are we losing tennis courts? That's what I'm getting at.
Yes.
Yes, you
We are
will.
losing 2 tennis courts.
Yes,
Right?
you get 2.
Okay. Now, we have basketball courts at how many of our parks?
You have it at Camarda, you have it at Baldwin Meadows. I
And
think
that's
that's it.
Yeah.
And the schools, right? Every school has one.
Correct.
Basketball courts, I know Fulmer does.
Yeah, most of the parking
Does the
lots
high
do.
school have outdoor
I don't
basketball
think
courts?
outdoor courts. They
I don't
have
think
the
so. I don't think the
Middle
high
school
school does.
Middle school does.
Middle school
Lakeview
does.
does.
Middle school has no
Not-
tennis
not
courts, but the high
full.
school does.
You
Not-
said
not
tennis
full.
or you said
No,
basketball?
she's saying basketball.
Yeah,
Basketball.
Middle school has
They have
basketball
hoops.
courts, outside.
But the high school does not.
High school does
No, I
not.
didn't think so. So the only other tennis courts we have in town are the 2
Are the
at
high
the high
school
school.
ones.
And high school has a bunch.
2 at the high school, 2 at the high school, and 2 now.
The high school,
Sycamore.
I think they have more than 2.
I think there's more at the high school. I think
Yeah, I
there's
think there
3 or
may be
4 there
4.
at the high school.
3?
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
How many?
I think there may be 3 or 4 there.
I don't know.
The
I
high
could be wrong.
school.
I don't know.
Ask
I don't play
Stephanie
tennis.
Tock,
I've,
would be
you know, I've walked by it a
embarrassed.
million times while
I don't know
watching
either.
and going doing
I'm-
lacrosse. So
I'm just concerned. I just would hate to lose more tennis courts because we seem to have a lot of sport fields and not many tennis courts. That's all I have on existing business or current business. So do I have to wait for old business?
If there's
Is
anybody
there anybody
else.
here for agenda items? Anybody else? Agenda items only? No? Okay, you could go right into
Okay,
new
so
business
I'll
then.
continue then. I'm sorry. Thank you. Let's see where I'm going to start with. So we'll start with Mayapack News. It was interesting to me that there was a letter, and I'm just saying my opinion here, opposing Bernie Cosberg's column. And it concerned me because it's the only opposing voice we have in a majority Republican town. And It saddens me to see that people are nervous about opposition. The column is like this, so just want to get that out there. On Low HUD, we all heard about the story about the Putnam County Golf Course. So that's the elephant in the room, and I know this is not Putnam County, but we are part of Putnam County, and it really, again, concerns the people of Carmel and Mayapack and of Putnam when our tax dollars are treated cavalierly, I don't know if that's a word, or haphazardly or abused in any way. Makes me very sad. I actually saw you at the Eagle Scout. You were there, Eagle Scout ceremony. I know you had to go real fast. The reason I bring that up is that is sponsored, or that Boy Scout troop is sponsored by the Legion Hall, and so I'm going to segue that into their restrooms. I was told at that Eagle Scout ceremony that business will be closed from July 1st through the 8th, but that perhaps Mayapack and Carmel Highway Department is short workers. I don't know if that's true or not, if there's a rumor or not.
No, that's true.
Okay.
For that week?
Right.
That is true, yeah, because
Okay.
the highway workers, they can't take off during the winter months.
I understand that.
They're not permitted to take vacation, so they take them during the summer months. And that week, the July 4th week, is when a lot of them have planned vacations to do things with their families. So I think Mike Simone, and I don't think he'll have a problem with me saying this, 18 of his total staff is going to be out that week. So he's going to be very shorthanded.
That's what I was told.
Yeah, that's the issue, because he's shorthanded.
So is the work going to be done?
Oh,
by-
yeah, it's
by
definitely going to
who?
be done.
By Putnam workers?
You mean that week? It's probably not going to, probably won't get done that week.
Okay.
There's an outside chance that it might be done the last week in June. There's a chance that it could get done in the last week in June. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
You just explain what's going to be done because
I just don't want this postponed anymore. This has to be done. Someone had mentioned that perhaps Putnam County workers, Highway Department workers, could step in and do that job there. I don't know what that would entail.
Okay.
They were offered.
The problem is Michael has a lot of people out that week.
Yeah, but he's only Mayapack Carmel. I'm saying Putnam County. Could Kent, or could someone step in? That's why I'm asking if that's a possibility.
1 week before or 1 week after, I don't think it's going to make a
get done.
difference.
Okay, well, they are having a,
Started the job, he's got it lined up, he knows what has to be done. So instead of instructing a different department to do it, I would just sit tight and let Mike get it done.
okay.
It'll get done by the end of July.
They have been sitting tight. In all respect, they've been sitting tight for almost 4
I
years.
think they know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's imminent that.
Okay, well, I'm here to fight their cause, so, they have a
What-
big
yeah,
event at the
Let me
end.
just explain, I think for the benefit of some folks that may not be aware of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's an agreement between the American Legion, there's been an agreement reached between the American Legion and the property owner,
Right.
Mr. Nicholas. And also Highway Superintendent Simone, the town of Carmel there's a stormwater pipe that comes down off the hill, up where the American Legion is.
Right.
Lakeview Road, all those streets, they drain into, their stormwater drains into Lake Mayapack. In the center of that parking lot, in very close proximity to the sewer lateral for the American Legion, the existing one that's bad, that can't be used, that's collapsed, that's out of service. In very close proximity to that is our stormwater pipe.
Right.
Our stormwater pipe that's owned by the town of Carmel has to be replaced. That's also in bad condition. That's failing as well. So it's not carrying water through
So
that
you'll
pipe the way it
piggyback.
should. So Superintendent Simone has agreed that he's going to trench the parking lot. When he trenches the parking lot to replace the town's stormwater pipe, that the sewer lateral is going to be replaced at the same time.
Okay.
So they're going to be in the same trench, but there's going to be a distance apart. The elevations are going to be different. One will be higher and one will be lower. So they're not side by side, but the trench will be big enough and wide enough to accommodate both of them. So because we're going in there, the town of Carmel's going in there to
And
replace
opening it
our
up.
pipe.
Right.
At the same time, the sewer lateral is going to be replaced for the American Legion.
Okay.
This has all been agreed to. The only thing that's left or remains to be done
The time.
is the temporary easement has to be finalized from the property owner's attorney, which is Charlie Mortabano down in Mount Kisco, has to prepare this temporary easement. which this town board is going to have to approve. So once we get that temporary easement finalized
Right.
in its draft form, it's going to go to either Greg or myself, and then it's going to go to the town board for final approval. Once the town board approves that draft easement, the temporary easement, then the highway superintendent can go in and do the work. But not until it's approved by resolution, authorizing him to go ahead and do that based on the specifications that are contained within the temporary easement.
Got it.
So, but the town engineer, the consulting engineer, John Fulchetti, the highway superintendent, they were all involved in submitting the construction specifications, the construction specs that are part of the easement. So in order for the temporary easement to be drafted, they needed the construction specs, the specifications, the material that's going to go in the trench, the
Right.
type of pipe that's being used, the overlay, the final restoration of the trench, and what the overlay is going to be. That's all been agreed to.
Okay.
We're just waiting. Greg, did you hear from Mr. Martabano? I called him today also and left a message for him to please let us know what the status of that is, because that's holding it up right now.
Right, okay.
That's what's holding it up. So,
I'm just concerned because they do have, the Legion Hall has a big event at the end of July, and I'd really love to push this through before then.
and there's
Really
gonna-
be nice
and
for
the-
them to have facilities.
And the sewer lateral, the new sewer lateral is going to be tapped. There's going to be a tap into the main, the sewer main, allowing them to, once it's completely,
Okay.
once the job is completed, they'll be able to use their bathroom facilities again, their kitchen, their water, everything. But I spoke to Mike Simone the other day, and he indicated to me that once the temporary easement is finalized and this board approves the language in the easement, he's ready to go ahead. So he may get this done before the first week in July, but if it's not the first week in July, if it's not before the first week in July, it'll be the second week in July.
It's not a big job,
It's-
it's a 3-day job, 2 or
Right.
3 days.
So that's where we are with it.
Understand that, it's taking a while.
I just want to say, I am 100% behind this and anything we can do with the American Legion. I would have just liked to known about this, what was going on. So in the future, if you can just, share what's going on, I'd appreciate it
Okay.
on my end. But like I said, I'm 100% for it.
I'm sorry, Susie, and I agree with you, and I have no problem doing it. I actually thought that everybody knew what was going on
I
down there.
I just asked Jonathan, I said, Jonathan, did you know about this? And he said no also.
Okay.
So
All right. I apologize.
There needs to be better communication.
Well,
Because again, it's something that's awesome, but I would have liked to be part of it.
Okay.
So I just want to backtrack a little bit, make sure I understand it, and I'll make it brief. You were saying that now the town of Carmel is getting some work done,
We are.
okay? And the Legion Hall project is not kind of piggybacking, but it's kind of opened the door saying, well, we're going to do this work, so why don't we just do this pipe as well? This could not have been done sooner?
Well, while the trench is open, it makes total sense. It makes total sense to do
Absolutely.
to do the
That's not my
Legion's
question. My
lateral.
question is, did the town of Carmel know that it needed that work done for itself and perhaps have that Legion Hall work done sooner?
Rich,
It went in the opposite direction.
Okay.
When we looked at the site for the sewer line, after this whole thing has been going on, Mike Simone noted that part of the problem that might be there is also this, he wants to readjust the way the water gets in there.
Okay.
And he piggybacked onto the sewer line.
Just
He was
checking.
gonna do the sewer line. So it wasn't that we knew the water was gonna be there. Once we were out there looking at, we didn't know this was anything bad. I know it's
Right.
been a couple of years, right? Until that all happened, and we go and investigate and we look at it, we understand, okay, there's a sewer line, it's blocked, where we're gonna put it, we did the drawings, and then we notice, there's all this drainage in the area. Mike goes and investigates and goes, okay, well, since we're gonna be digging a trench for this, we'll drop a pipe in here and just straighten this other line out, and it'll go a lot easier, so.
Thank you, I just wanted to
We did a
clarify
rat then,
that.
We looked at the whole picture.
I'm sorry?
We did a rat then, we looked at the whole picture and said, if we're gonna open up between these two roads, what else do we need?
Right, thank you. I'm just curious, I just wanted to make sure that wasn't something that was being held aside and all of a sudden now dealt with.
do you want?
What you have to understand is, there's still an easement between the owner and the Legion that has to be agreed to, in addition to the easement between the owner and the town of Carmel. That's what's been delaying this for a period of 4 years? I mean, to
Years.
the best of my knowledge. So, and that still has to be done, although my understanding is they've agreed on terms. But as part of the consideration for granting the town the easement to replace the drainage pipes, which they don't have a formal recorded easement, the town's agreed to lay the PVC in the trench to connect it. But there'll have to be a separate easement between the Legion and the owner. And my understanding is that's worked out, but that's been the delay.
Yeah, it just seems like they're both been pinched on something that is almost neither of their faults. That the paperwork wasn't done properly years ago, or something was amiss, or something wasn't listed, or the sewer line wasn't there. I don't know what it is, but it's just unfortunate that it had to happen to our veterans at the Legion Hall, who we love to have for photo ops, and we love to go to parades and make speeches, but, you know, this is something that needs to get done. This is uncivilized, that they are living in business or whatever without facilities.
Gene,
So I'm just saying it.
I'm sure this entire board couldn't agree with you more. The problem is that if we don't own the property, we can't do anything about it.
I
So-
understand that, but, you know, there were, not you guys, but there were powers that be, that something on these property deeds is somehow amiss,
That
or,
was many years ago, so
I
we're
understand
fixing it
that.
wrong.
I get that. But they're not using a portisan. I'm not, so I feel bad for them.
Gene, I want to have, I actually, when this is all done, I want to have a ribbon cutting for the new sewer
I
lateral.
want them to be reimbursed for the last
This is-
4
this
years
is-
of their
This is how long.
portisan rental.
This is how long this has been going on.
Yeah, see, ribbon cutting
It-
is nice. Again, it's a photo op, but these guys still have to use the
No,
portisan. They've been using
I'm
it for
being a
almost
little
4 years.
facetious about that,
You
but
know?
Can you do the first flush?
I'll do the honorary flush. This has been at me now for almost 4 years now that I've been dealing with this issue, and the board.
Good.
So,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm glad.
I'm really
I'm
only
glad they're feeling it,
joking
because
about
I
the
feel it
ribbon
for
cutting.
them.
I'm joking.
I just think it's
but-
disgraceful, that's all. And
It is.
I'm not blaming, again, there's no blame, but I'm just,
Right.
I just really think it's unfortunate, because I know all of us in this room, if we didn't have a bathroom in our home because of our neighbor or something, you'd be pulling your hair out. So I do want to bring up the Putnam County Golf Course situation that we've heard about on LoHUD. Maybe some of you haven't, I don't know. Makes me very sad that taxpayer dollars are lost, abused, treated like it's personal money. It's not. And I'm addressing our public
I-
officials, our elected officials.
I honestly, I don't know what's going on.
Okay, well-
Yeah, I do.
So,
Well,
if you
maybe-
can let me know.
Dave, was his name Dave McKay Wilson, or David Wilson McKay? I forgot,
yeah.
the tax watch guy from LoHUD. It just boggles my mind. It makes me very sad
I-
that we raise our children in a community to teach them to be ethical
I don't know
and
what's going
honorable.
on.
and this
Again,
is,
Gene, I don't know what you're referring to.
Well,
Okay.
no,
Well-
I read the article, Gene, and I'm not sure if this is appropriate to talk about
Okay,
this
well, I'm just
tonight,
putting
to
it out
bring this
there.
up. I know where you're coming from. I get it. I totally understand, but I don't know if this is the correct forum.
okay.
That-
The
that-
only reason I bring it up, and I'll tell you why, is I'm not a Facebook user, and I see a lot of Facebook comments of people that have a lot to say, but won't come here and say it. Have ideas, have theories, have better ways, but they hide behind Facebook. And they don't come here, and they don't say anything. So I'm here and I'm saying something, and it's wrong, and I hope it's untrue, but I don't like reading articles where they're caught in doing something and they say, oh, yeah, oh, sorry, that was an oversight. Oh, that, we meant to tell you about that. Or, oh, we thought we did that. We didn't do that? These are adults. These are people paid by taxpayer dollars, okay? And that's what's making me angry, because we talk about our high taxes, and we have to watch those dollars and our public officials. And I'm only bringing it up because I like you guys, okay? Be on the up and up. Okay, it's our money. We're paying you guys, not just you, but Putnam County Executive and her employees as well.
Go up to their meetings
Yeah.
then and do
That's
exactly
my
what
other
you're
question.
doing now
So when is
at their meetings.
when is their
then.
meetings?
Well, they're
They're all the time.
all the time, yeah, they have them quite
I
often.
need a specific.
There's,
Putnam County
uh,
meetings are
if you
when?
call- If
Go-
you go to
go
the
I don't want to go on
website.
websites. Nobody knows? Nobody on this town board
I don't
knows
They're
when the
know.
almost
Putnam
every
County
night.
meetings are?
They're almost every night.
Almost every night.
Almost every night. What time?
That varies, 6:30,
Bob, do you
7.
know when the Putnam County meetings are?
I-
Like they said, they have different committees, they have full bodies. I mean, all you
Go on the website, okay.
Or call the legislative one.
6:30. Okay, that's all I have. Thanks, guys.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks, Gene. All right, is there anybody else here for open forum, new business portion of the meeting who didn't speak, that would like to speak? Mike?
Hi, Michael Solicino, CEO of the Chamber of Commerce. I just wanted to ask you guys to make sure that you're in good communication with all the stakeholders related to whatever, the process of what's going to be going on by the Chamber Park and the extension of the Chamber Park and the structures that are there, because I'm starting to get a lot of questions because we happen to reside there. There's a lot of rumors coming out, and there's a lot of perception, and it would be best if the town board stays in front of all that by communicating very well about the timing, whatever information they have. Because, as I said, I'm starting to hear things, and I actually have a few concerns myself because, there's five nonprofit organizations in that building, and some of them don't pay rent, some of them pay rent, and potentially, or I'm assuming, I honestly don't know, they all need a place to find additional space. So the timing of what's going to happen is critical for certainly somebody that's not paying any rent that has to find a place for no rent. It's going to be harder for them than obviously the people that do pay rent, but they're all nonprofit organizations, so none of them are paying a lot of rent. And the other thing is just thinking about the whole picture. I just was sitting today thinking about it a little bit, and we have the street fair down there in the beginning of at the end of September. The Columbus Day Parade goes right through there, and the grandstand is right in front of that parking lot. So depending on what the timing of what you're all doing, it could impact.
Tell me, the buildings are coming down Wednesday.
Well, not the chamber building.
No, not,
Well, he's
no,
talking
not the
about
chamber
the-
building. No.
We didn't tell you your building's coming down Wednesday?
Yeah, the update
cottage-
on
the
the.
cottages.
No, okay,
No,
so I mean,
he's talking about more
I'm-
the
I'm
update
talking
on the
about the
bank
whole-
property.
the whole-
Property be
Is there any
cleaned up,
update?
the back property be cleaned up next week.
Okay.
We're proceeding along with the bank. I would say you're going to have plenty of notice. We still haven't finalized anything.
Okay. No, in all honesty,
I mean, no one's going to give you 30, 60, 90-day notice.
no, in all honesty, at the grand meeting about the 2020 plan and such, you had mentioned a longer time frame, but all I'm saying is I'm starting to hear some things about shorter time
Is there a
frames. So
shorter timeframe? Yes.
And I don't want to be part of the rumor mill. I don't want to engage in the rumor mill. Or I want to help. So any information you guys can give so that I can help refute some of that. Because as I said, I'm probably at ground zero as it relates to this project a little bit, and I'm starting to get people coming to me, asking me questions. Like this week I had a resident of the Point come into me and say to me, do you know about the mussels that are in the lake? And we all know about the mussels in the lake. And now that they're going to do this, the boats are going to come from all over the place, and they're going to, go into the lake from here. And I said, to my knowledge, there's no access to the lake. I mean, I was able to.
Actually, we had a couple of trespassers there in the last week launching a boat, and Jimmy left, but rocks were put in position today, so that can't happen again.
Yeah, okay, but I'm just saying, it's that type of thing, and I can say to them, with 90% assurance, no, there's not going to be, because that's what you guys have told me, or as I've sat in these meetings, but my point is, I sit in these meetings, and there's a lot of people that don't, so
Yep.
there's a real great need for communication, because I think it's a sensitive area of the town. So.
Mike, I don't know we're in June now, we haven't closed, we're still negotiating with the bank, we haven't closed on those properties yet. I think it might be safe to say that, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, that I don't think we're going to consider taking that building down, your building, the chamber building, till next spring, early next spring.
You're at least a year out,
It
and I would
depends
think
on-
you would get at least a year notice.
Yeah, well.
I would like to
he's
give you
concerned,
at
Mike's
least a
concerned.
year notice.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I think that's reasonable. So I just want to make sure that whatever whatever I'm communicating is the latest and greatest information, and you don't have to deliver it to me. I'm happy to take it, but I think you need to make sure that you're communicating
Yeah, we
to
all
the
need-
stakeholders.
Because I've got to be honest with you, I was in the impression, like, if we closed in July or August, we're going to start work right away. We're not waiting a year to start work.
Close with who?
If we're closed, say, I'm just saying hypothetical, because nobody knows when or if we're closing on the bank property. So I'm just assuming
We're at least,
July,
no, you're assuming way too soon.
August, I don't know.
Yeah, because
I don't know.
we're still in the design phase with the bank. Okay, the bank approved the preliminary design. Next week, I'm sitting down with several professional drawers. It's going to take them a month to put something together. They'll come to us, we'll go to the bank with it. Even if they approve it then, you're still, you have to work together. You're a year away from
Oh,
major
so we may not
construction.
close till
That-
the end of the year, that
Yeah, this year,
possibly?
yes.
The end of this year. Okay, so
Yeah,
I
but
was.
we would have a working relationship, and we might not necessarily have to close with them before we start planning between the chamber, the rec committee.
Yep.
That'll work simultaneously.
Yeah.
But we're not closing, at least I don't know anything about it, okay? And, I don't see us resolving everything with the bank till probably maybe September.
Oh, so it's
And
gonna
then
be
you have
later
to set up a
anyways.
closing date, and then you have to get easements in place. I mean, then the lawyers get
Yeah,
involved.
so then
No,
next year.
I realize.
That's
Okay.
what
And
I just
I picked
Yeah,
up
but-
on your
but-
point
yeah, but
from
Kenny-
from
Said
2
next
meetings
year.
ago, so
Right,
I
but
just,
if
You're
But if
saying
we
the
don't-
same thing I said. That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying.
no, but if we don't have that information,
I don't have it either, Sue.
We don't have anything.
We don't have any of it.
We
All I'm saying
we
is
all
it's-
have exactly what we've all been saying.
We're all saying the same thing.
We met the
Mike.
bank 2 weeks,
Okay.
3 weeks ago. We had a conceptual approval from them of our design. I was told to bring it to to get a professional design drawn. I'll be very honest with you. I have a wedding coming up this Saturday, which is occupying my time. And after that, I will take care of it.
All right.
And by the time I get the drawing done, submit it to them, they approve it, then it goes to the lawyers to work out easements and work out language. And we all know, which we've discussed tonight, on a very simpler matter, that it could take months.
yeah.
So there's no surprises here. There's nothing different here. There are no changes here. We've always said, we're closing on the Swan Cove property. We're taking the buildings down in June. We're following through with that promise. The bank property is going to take a little bit more time, but the property after next week will look clean, which is what the town wants.
so you're good for
And
a
is
year,
it,
Mike.
and is it, my understanding is that the structure that will be on that property will hold nobody, there's no
There's
room
no
for any.
structure remaining on that property.
There's not going to be, when the chamber building comes down,
Oh.
there will be no structure on that
Oh,
property?
no.
Okay, all right. Because at one point, there was some
There's gonna be
consideration about
bathrooms.
some,
Not on that
there'll be
property.
bathrooms,
Not on
right?
that
Not on
property.
that property.
Okay.
No bathrooms on that lot.
On
where the
that- on
chamber
that
No, I know,
building-
that's
particular lot.
that's the flag, it's a flag
There
lot, I get
will
it.
be-
I get-
There will be bathrooms somewhere in the future, but not on that site.
The
Right.
purpose is to expand the view of the lake,
Right,
and the chamber building sits right there.
right.
The cottages are secondary to the chamber building. But there is discussion of tucking a building behind the bank, or tucking a building by the playground area. So,
For
Nothing-
for bathrooms.
for bathrooms.
Yeah.
Nothing has
That's
changed
what I-
at all
Okay,
on the entire overall concept.
okay.
But, like I've learned, it goes very slow when you're dealing with government.
Yeah, no, I'm not, listen, I want it to get done because it's a great
Really
thing. but
slow.
I get it. I'm more concerned about understanding the timing of it,
For the people.
for the businesses downtown, and for myself having to move the chamber and the rest of the businesses the rest of the nonprofits that are in that building. That's really,
And we will sit down on a round table with the bank and with the board and with the people that are in that building and work something out and figure something out.
okay. All right, good. All good. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So you're a solid year out. Let the other NFPs know that. You're there for another year.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, anyone else for new business, open forum? If not, we have executive session tonight that we have to go into. And we're actually meeting with, oh, does the board have any announcements?
Excuse me?
Does the board have any announcements?
No, I'd just like to say something. It's a pleasure seeing people come to the meeting and to ask questions. It's just, it's so refreshing. Thank you very much. And more people should come and ask more questions.
I don't have anything.
Okay. I don't either. All right, what I have, I can wait till next week.
Was that it?
Have
Was
one
the
item.
fact that I sat
So,
there and nobody wanted to come?
We're going into executive session to meet with Kathy Kraus, the receiver of taxes, on a personnel matter. Chief Mike Kazari, personnel matter. Greg Fulchetti, town legal counsel, update on the Lake Mahopac Dam litigation. I need a motion to go into executive session. So moved by Councilwoman McDonough, seconded by Councilman Lupinacci. All those favor? Aye. Aye. Good night, everybody. See you next week.